Hello, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Deb from DG Reads, and I am here to kick off a new reading vlog for the Amazing Readathon. The Amazing Readathon is, of course, the readathon brought to us by Bree at 4 Paws in a Book. It is now week 3. This readathon goes for the full month of June, but it's not too late to join. If you're seeing this and you're intrigued, go ahead and join us. Everything will, of course, be linked in the box below. The important thing to know right now is it's Thursday night, and we got a new prompt released today. And our next destination is the freezing wall, the wall in the Game of Thrones universe. I'm going to admit something here. I have not seen the Game of Thrones TV show. I just never started it, heard all the upset about the ending of it, never got motivated to pick it up. I did read the first book and didn't continue on with it, so I have a little knowledge of this world, and of course I've heard many a thing, but this is a new destination for me. The prompt for this book is to read a book with either a wintry cover, a chilling cover, or a wintry setting in the book. And this is probably the first book that I picked for my TBR for the month because Cassidy at Covers with Cassidy mentioned as she was reading this book that it would be perfect for this particular prompt, and that is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. This is a fantasy / romantasy. My understanding is that it leans pretty heavily fantasy, at least at the beginning, and that had me super intrigued, plus the fact that Cassidy was really enjoying it, had this high on my list, and it's a buddy read for Mel at Melanor Reads Patreon, so I had every reason to get to it this month. I knew this one would be a struggle to get through quite as quickly as some of my other books because there is no audiobook for this one. The audiobook is being published in August, so obviously I don't have access to that yet. So I did make a little bit of an advanced start on the book as I had time between other reads at the beginning of the month, so I am at least starting this new prompt 100 pages in. I got through a little bit at work today, so I want to say I'm about 18% of the way through the book. It's about 650 pages, and that means I've got some reading to do. So I will go ahead and give you my initial thoughts since I am approaching kind of the 20% mark, which is a pretty significant chunk of pages for a book this long, and that way I don't have to worry too much about remembering to put it down at a certain point if I get in the mood to just binge. Because the complication to this leg of the journey in the readathon is that tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. my time, the face-off readathon, little mini 48-hour readathon within the middle of the Amazing Readathon kicks off. And that's a whole separate set of prompts and priorities and different things like that. So I will be trying to get as much of Direbound done as I can before 9 a.m. hits tomorrow morning, and then put it down for the weekend and then pick it up again on Sunday when the readathon, face-off readathon ends, if that makes some level of sense. I am going to be doing a whole separate dedicated weekend vlog for face-off, which will have come out before this vlog goes live. It's a little confusing in this month of me trying to weekly vlog and do other things, so hopefully that'll make some sense. Direbound is set in a world where there are these huge dire wolves, and certain people get selected to bond to these wolves. Our main character has no interest in this. She doesn't like the people who are bonded to the wolves. The wolves are pretty brutal from the brief glimpse we see of them through her eyes at the beginning, but she's someone who is feisty, she's a fighter. There is this problem in her world of children being abducted, and they're abducted out of nowhere, and her sister, we know from the synopsis, so I don't feel like this is a spoiler, her sister becomes one of these taken children, taken by the people called nabbers, and she was right outside when this happened, and she feels horrible about this. She's determined to go off and find what happened to her sister. And the lore of the world is that these children are being taken into enemy territory, they're being drained, and this all sounds horrible. She needs to figure out where her sister is and get her sister back. So she enlists with the army, basically, but she gets forced into this trial to potentially bond to a wolf. That's not what she wants. She wants to get into the army, but she has to get through this trial alive first. So at the 20% mark, that's basically where we've gotten to, is her dealing with this. And of course, things aren't going to go according to plan with her. It's a very brutal world. People are against each other. There's lots of fighting. There's a lot of death. It's very dark, and I'm having a good time. It's very easily bingeable. If it weren't for the whole having to read other things, having to be at work, I could have gotten a lot further in this book already, so I think once I actually sit down tonight and read, I should get a good chunk of the way through. And then tomorrow morning, Friday morning, I have a car appointment at 8 a.m. Why past me thought that was a good idea? Don't ask. Present me has no clue, but I will get some sit down and read time before the readathon starts at 9 a.m. So all this said, I'm excited for this. We also have some good sightseeing prompts, although with the mini readathon in the middle of this, I don't know how much sightseeing I'm going to get to. But that said, I did finish one sightseeing book today. Like I said, Direbound doesn't have an audio, and I needed an audio while I was at work. So the 250 point prompt for this particular leg is to read a banned book. And that's a very extensive list, unfortunately. Books that have been banned in some state or another to not be on school shelves gives lots of options. And the book I wound up going for was one I could get easily from my library on audio and one I thought I could listen to easily, and I wound up enjoying it, thankfully. But the book I read was The Young Elites by Marie Lu. And I wound up reading the entire thing today, so obviously no midway thoughts. But this is book one of a trilogy. It's one of her older series, I believe, and the entire series has been banned from schools in Florida, so it works for this prompt. This is set in a world where a blood fever struck down a lot of people, and not that many survived, but the children who got this fever, who did survive, sometimes came out of it with some sort of mark that marks them as being different. And our main character, Adelina, has one of these marks. Her hair changed colors and she lost one of her eyes. Her father's always treated her as cursed, as if it is a black mark on the family to have her. The other thing about these people who are marked is that they usually have some sort of power, and not everyone believes this necessarily. Not everyone has a power. This girl doesn't believe she does either until something horrific happens and she manifests a power. This marks her as one of the young elites. There are secret societies of these young elites that band together. They are treated as second-class citizens in this world. They are treated very poorly and potentially subject to death. And in this world, we get a lot of political fights. We get a lot of different discussions on being treated differently and poorly in this world. And I like the way the author uses the different superpowers, and we begin to see what these powers are over time. As in many of these books, we get some kind of training elements of her trying to figure out what her power is and how to control it, and do the people around her feel safe or not. This ended really with a big kind of twist to things that I did not expect, which I really enjoyed, and I definitely want to try to pick up more in this series. Like I said, the whole series has been banned, so if I have time after the mini readathon and after I finish Direbound, I would like to pick up more from this series. My camera's starting to tell me it's a little bit overheating, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this intro off here. I've been rambling for a very long time and I need to get to reading, so I will check back in probably after the 48-hour readathon and let you know how things are going. It is Sunday morning. The face-off weekend ended a few hours ago, and that went pretty well. The vlog for that should already be up by the time you're seeing this. But the main objective I had as soon as that was over, or at least when it hit 8 a.m. and I knew I wasn't going to be able to fit another full book in for face-off, was to finish my frosty read to get me to the wall, and I have now finished Direbound. And in the early part of this book, I wasn't sure if I was going to wind up gelling with it. The book starts with an established relationship, which is not my favorite thing in a romance. And honestly, the guy gives me the ick a little bit in some of the ways he talks to our main character and different things. There is a love interest that comes into play later on in the book, who I do like a lot more. There's banter, there's back and forth between them, there's more of a sense that there can be some equality between them. Obviously, I can't say too much because this is book one in a series, and this is a very long book. Lots happen by the time you get to the end of this book, but I can say the last 20% had me absolutely hooked. I've been sitting here needing more coffee, needing breakfast, needing to get up and move, but I didn't want to put the book down, both because I was a little worried we'd get a new leg drop and I'd miss out on points if I couldn't get this in, but also just the book had me hooked. And the author did some really creative things where I predicted stuff, but also faked me out in a couple places where I thought something was going to happen and it didn't, and then it went a different direction, and then something else came back around and surprised me. This ends on quite the cliffhanger. It feels like a finished book, but also at the same time, it has me absolutely eager to get the new book. It has now been picked up traditionally, which means that the second book is getting delayed. I believe I've heard March 2026 is when we're expecting the sequel, so I will absolutely be picking that up. But I got this put in. It's 610 pages. I used a power-up to get me double pages, and it also had the trials aspect. to get a bonus. So this wound up being 1,270 points if I did my math right. If not, the graphic on the screen will tell you what the actual number is. But I did get that done. And then, as I had mentioned previously, I read The Young Elite by Marie Lu, and I did get that submitted as well for a banned book. And since we are still in the active leg, that got my team 500 points as well. So now I am not sure what I'm doing today. The leg could drop any time. I think we've probably got a little bit of time before we get a new prompt, but I'm not sure about that. I think my goal is maybe today to work on some arcs. I've got one on the go currently, which I think I mentioned to you before, The Library at Hellebore. I'm currently reading, which will work for Grey Morality character, which is a current sightseeing prompt. And then I'm a little behind just in general reading my arcs this month for my next arc attack. So I might try to pick up one more today and see. I'm sure there's a prompt somewhere this month that something will fit into. I'm not too worried after going all out all weekend with the novellas and just being tired from being out and about yesterday. So we'll see how the day goes. But for now, priority one is coffee and food. And Kylie's looking at me. She's ready for her morning treat. And I'll let you know when I have an update for you later on. I'm back with one more update from the wall because it is now Monday morning. Sunday afternoon, early evening, Bree did drop the next leg. So in the time that I had at the wall, I was able to get a second sightseeing book in, and that was The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Kah. This is not one I'm going to review here because it is going to be in my Arc Attack vlog that is upcoming, but this went in for a morally great character because it certainly works for that, and there was a trials competition type element going on in here as well, so this got 450 points for my team. So not the most successful of sightseeing rounds for me, but I did have a physical only book, a chunky book, so I think it balances out quite well. With the new leg, we are on our way to Ketterdam, the world of the Six of Crows, and it is very appropriate, I think, for the book that I've picked because the prompt is to read a book set in a big city. And for that, I am going to be reading The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This is the really, really pretty Illumicrate edition, and I also have the audiobook, and I am so far really enjoying it. I am 200 pages in, and this is a world that has 8 different kingdoms or groupings of people, and they are animal signs. We've got ravens, we've got foxes, we've got hounds, we've got just different animal groupings. And every 24 years, the throne is handed over to a different group. So the 7 groups that are not currently holding the throne put their tribute in the game to compete, and they will determine who next gets the throne. It is now that time. We are following Nima, who is the scholar to the current emperor, and a couple of the tributes who are the main point of focus. We have a guy who basically took his sister's place in kind of a cruel twist of fate, and Nima is the one who kind of enacted for the emperor what happened there. And then Nima's ex-boyfriend is also one of the people competing this year. And then one of the tributes is murdered, and this is also a murder mystery. So I'm really, really liking the writing style in here. It's a little bit different in terms of how it's being told. We are getting the Raven's perspective here and there. We are primarily following Nima, but the opening chapters did have some different perspectives thrown in. It was a lot to kind of learn at the outset, but something about it did hook me right away. So I am eager to continue on with this one. It is not a small book. It's over 600 pages, and I'm a little bit concerned about getting it done in time because this is not a book I'm going to want to multitask to. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to listen in the car on my way to work and knock a bit of it off that way, and we shall see. Hopefully tonight I will get some good reading in. I did not sleep well last night at all, so we shall see. But I'm really, really liking this and having a great time with the books I've been picking up for this readathon in general, so hopefully that continues. I have finally made my way to Ketterdam by finishing up The Raven Scholar, and I really, really enjoyed this. It has a really unique kind of narrative style. You are hearing from a perspective that is not the characters on page it's kind of more of an outside perspective, and it's breaking the wall a bit with the reader. Every once in a while, you'll get a comment like, this was really brutal, let's look away. Or those types of things where the author is pulling us back a little bit from certain scenes. And it's not done in too much of a gimmicky way as to distract from the narrative, but I do like it. It gives a little bit of lightness to some darker moments here or there. There's also some footnotes in here, and honestly, if I was reading just with the audio, I probably wouldn't have even realized they were footnotes because they do flow with the text quite well. This has the mystery element of this murdered raven and our main character needing to try to find answers for that, and I think it's so well integrated into the fantasy story that I think you truly are getting a merge of genres here. You really wouldn't have a story without the mystery. You really wouldn't have the story without the fantasy. And I really think the reveals with this were really well done and spread out well enough throughout the book to keep me really hooked on that as well. This is book 1 in a series. Hey, puppy, it's the TV. I have my TV paused because I was watching TV while I was eating dinner, and she's now staring at it and barking at it. So not sure exactly what triggered her, but the book is the start of a new series. I don't remember if it's said if it's a duology, trilogy, what, but this one does a good job of kind of feeling wrapped up. Like we got to a big climax toward the end of the book and a lot of answers toward the end of the book, but at the same time, there's further questions to be answered. So I feel like it left in a pretty good space while leaving enough open that I'm very eager to read the next book. The ending in this one gets really chaotic. There's a lot of reveals. There's a lot of things that can be a little bit confusing. And I was trying to listen to this on my way home from work, and I finally just decided I needed to pause it and wait till I could get home and have the book in front of me. This is a book I would not necessarily recommend be audio only, just because there's so much to keep track of. It absolutely is doable. I just wouldn't do this as like a multitasking. I was okay driving and listening, but toward the end there just was so much chaos going on, and the way the perspectives work and the voices of the different characters merged together within these chapters, I think it definitely was one I needed to slow down a little bit and focus on a little bit more toward the end. Overall, this is one I kept wanting to binge. I couldn't wait to pick it back up. I sat and read a couple hundred pages at a time, and ultimately that's the sign of a 5-star read for me. I haven't fully decided if it's a 4.5 or a 5, but this was a big win for me. I think I can see why it's not going to work for everyone. The kind of quirky narrative, narrator, all of that type of stuff is something that you're either going to really like or really not, I think. But for me, it really, really worked. So this went in, it's 643 pages, and with bonuses and a double up card, I wound up putting this in, and I think it wound up being $13.86 if I'm not mistaken. The graphic on the screen will tell you for sure if I'm misremembering, but I did the math when I made the graphic. And then I did have one book to put in for sightseeing, and it's one of my ARC books, so it's going to be reviewed as part of my Architect vlog, not here, but I did finish up Wildfire Days by Kelly Ramsey. This is the story of a woman working on a hotshot crew fighting fires along the West Coast. Very interesting read overall, and this one just came out on June 17th. It's a gifted copy I received from Scribner, so it's perfect for the sightseeing prompt to read a book you didn't purchase, and that means with it being doubled, I got 300 points for my team. If I have time before this leg closes, I do have one other not purchased book to read, and that is You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. This is a gifted thriller that I received from Bantam Books, and it is going to be featured in an upcoming vlog. I just happened to get a skip the line copy of the audiobook this week, and it worked for a bonus point, so I figured I'd start reading for that vlog a little bit early. But basically, we've got a bunch of writers have gone to this island for a writing retreat and murder mystery party, and then somebody really winds up dead. I'm about a third of the way into it and having a good time with it. It's got my attention. I like bookish books, so if I can get this in on time, it'll be another 300 points for Team Gale Weavers. So that's where we are right now. I feel like I've been doing all of my reading for this particular vlog very slow, but that's because we had the face-off weekend in the middle of the one leg, and then this last leg I had a really chunky book to get through that really required me to kind of physically read it at home, so it took me a couple days. So we'll see how long we have till the next stop. I definitely have a few other books that I could get to for sightseeing, so I am ready to jump into whatever's next after I finish my current read. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and probably have a relaxing evening. I think I want to get back to the TV I have paused and just take a little bit of time to relax, but I am also very interested in continuing on in You're Fatally Invited. So I have no idea what I'm going to be up to, but I will find out. Good morning. It is Thursday currently, and just as I was about to start filming, we got an announcement that the leg for Ketterdam has just ended. We don't have the new leg announcement yet, so we'll see if we have it by the time I actually stop filming, but I did want to provide you with a couple of sightseeing updates. I finished up You Were Fatally Invited. Like I said, I'm not going to review it in this particular vlog, but I did want to mention that this is a book I didn't purchase. It got submitted during the leg, and there also is a trials and games competition element in here, so this got my team 350 points. I also picked up Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin yesterday. This is a reread, and it's my current classics buddy read for the month, and it was a lot darker and bleaker than I really remembered, but I did finish about 60% of it and then decided that I may or may not continue. I decided to go ahead and DNF in this particular moment just because I have already read it and it just wasn't uplifting in the moment what I wanted to be reading at the time. I really enjoy his writing. I really have loved a lot of his books. This one is just much more focused on kind of an abusive situation, the misuse of religion in that situation, and just a lot of darkness going on and triggering content and so forth. So this one did wind up getting my team 550 points because the author is queer, and the book itself has been adapted into movies, which is our current 250 point prompt. And then I also read yesterday another book that will not be featured here, but Girl in the Creek by Wendy N. Wagner. This is a gifted copy I received from Tor Nightfire, and it is one coming out, I believe it's July 15th, but don't quote me on that. It's coming out in July anyway, and this will be in my upcoming Architect before it hits the shelves. But this being another book that I did not purchase, and it does have some fairly subtle but queer representation going on in here, and the author's representation, so I get that bonus. So this winds up being 350 points for my team. And then lastly, last night I had a little bit of time before bed, didn't have anything I was actively reading, and I realized one of the prompts for this past leg, since it now has ended, was for 200 points to have a book with an "and" in the title. And one of the books I did not get to on Face Off Weekend was Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. This is one I had originally picked up because one of the hosts, I think Leandra, I could be wrong, had given it 5 stars, so I picked it up when we had the 5-star host favorite prompt, and I figured it would work for Face Off, and then I didn't get to it for Face Off, so I figured it would be a really fun quick read right before bed last night, and it was. It's pretty light, but it works for the prompt for 400 points for my team. Okay, we do have the leg 7 prompt, so let me go ahead and watch that real quick, and I will share with you what my plan is. Okay, I just watched, and this is perfect because the next prompt has us going to Camp Half-Blood, and the prompt is to read a book with a celestial word in the title. And just yesterday, I decided to go ahead and get started on my next chunkiest book, and that is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Uruyu. And this is one that I've had on my radar for a little while. It was indie published, and I know several people who enjoyed it, and then it was traditionally picked up. It was part of the Fairy Loot Romantasy box. I know from the way that Becca at Becca in the Books had described it, it made it sound like it is less romance in the smutty sense, more romance and fantasy, and that had me more intrigued by it, and it absolutely is a perfect book for this prompt. So I am about a quarter of the way into it so far. In this world, stars rule, and there's various kingdoms. We are following Ilara from the Kingdom of Night, and her realm has been attacked, and she gets out of this chaos. She winds up going to the Kingdom of Night and winds up getting stuck with the enemy prince. And the enemy prince is concerned about his own realm and decides he needs to train her to be a weapon for him. And we've got a lot of training scenes so far. We've definitely got people butting heads. There's a guard that she's interacting with. There's the prince she's interacting with. And so far, it took me a little bit to get into. The beginning was a lot, kind of seemed to happen fast. We got to the Kingdom of Night very quickly, and it felt a little whirlwindy in my head. But I am finding it easy to read. I'm finding it very engaging. I'm also excited that this has an audiobook and that the audiobook is not 25 hours long as my most recent reads have been very, very chunky. So this is one I think I will be able to easily finish up today. I don't have the new sightseeing prompts yet for this, but that's okay because my main focus when I'm driving today is going to be on reading this book. So I'll figure the rest out from there, give you an update once I finish this one and once I figure out what my sightseeing priorities are going to be for Camp Half-Blood. It is Friday morning and I have finished Heavenly Bodies just like 2 minutes ago. So I was trying to get it done so I could film a clip before I go to work today to give myself a little bit more time to get this vlog finished up and up tomorrow. But I did want to also, of course, finish Heavenly Bodies so I could share my thoughts on it. So overall, I got more invested as the book went on. At the beginning, I was reading it. It was a fine time. I got, by the halfway point, much more invested in the story and the politics between the regions and the stars. The relationship never 100% hit for me, and there are some twists and turns to the relationship that I felt like it happened a little bit too quickly for me to fully feel invested or to be surprised or to not expect things to kind of reverse themselves. I don't know. It didn't 100% hit for me. The reveals at the end, I think, were well done. The way the prophecy ties into what winds up happening, I think, did make an interesting twist that made sense, but also wasn't necessarily the first thing I brought to mind when I was trying to figure out what was going on in here. So from that regard, I think it worked out pretty well for me. In the end, I think this one's getting a 3.5. I do think I would pick up the sequel to this one. I feel like this book felt very finished. Like it could have just ended as a standalone in a lot of ways, but I am curious to see where it winds up going. There's a few things that feel a little unfinished at the end of this book that I am curious about, so I'm not sure when the traditionally published sequel is meant to come out, but I will be keeping an eye out for that and checking out some reviews for it maybe before I pick it up, since I'm not 100% sold on this book, but a 3.5 is not a bad rating by any means. So with that, I have made it to Camp Half-Blood, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and end this leg in this vlog a little bit feeling unfinished, but I've made my journey book. I am starting on my sightseeing. For this particular leg, the highest point prompt is to read a book with names in the title, and I do have a few of those that I'm going to try to get to. I do also just generally have some things on my TBR I need to get to, and I should be able to fit those in to various points. I have, for this leg, there is a YA book prompt that's like a middle road points value, but I do definitely have a few that I would like to get to, including continuing the Young Elites, which continuing series is always a priority. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure what direction I'm going to go, but after I get to work today, I'm going to have to pick an audiobook to be listening to anyway. So I will figure that out and share that with you in the new vlog I will be kicking off right after this one for the final stretch of the Amazing Readathon. We've got a little more journeying to go, a little bit more team spirit for Gale Weavers to go, and I'm excited to figure out what's coming next and continue reading. Let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these books? If you've been participating in the readathon, have you had a favorite prompt or a favorite book that you've read for it yet? Let me know all the things. And if you've made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, give me some sort of celestial emoji, a star, a sun, a moon, whatever it may be, to let me know that you made it this far. If you could hit that like button below, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in more of my Amazing Readathon vlogs, more of my book reviews, and more of my bookish content in general. But for now, I'll leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.